It is not the critic who counts. This 114-year-old speech just ended a billionaire's career last week. Here's why you need to hear it. There's one sentence in this speech that corporate America refuses to quote. Boardrooms have scrubbed it from leadership training. I'll show you which one, and why it terrifies them, at the end. Theodore Roosevelt spoke these words in 1910. But if you're reading comments instead of creating, comparing yourself instead of competing, or afraid to start because you might fail, this will hurt. Let's break down every line. Because this isn't motivation. It's a mirror. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. Stop right there. Roosevelt isn't talking about constructive feedback. He's talking about people with zero skin in the game, judging people with everything on the line. The critic is comfortable. The critic is safe. The critic risks nothing. And that's exactly why their opinion is worthless. But here's where Roosevelt draws blood. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood. Notice he doesn't say, the person who succeeds. He says the person who tries, the person who shows up, the person willing to get bloody, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. Here's what schools don't teach. Error isn't the opposite of success. It's the entry fee. You don't pay with money. You pay with humiliation, setbacks, and bruised egos. If this is hitting different, drop a stadium in the comments. I want to see who's actually in the arena and who's still sitting in the stands. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Enthusiasm, not balance, not moderation. Roosevelt is describing obsession. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. The kind your family questions. And this next line, this is the one that separates the pretenders from the players. Who spends himself in a worthy cause, not tries hard, not does his best, spends himself like currency. You are the price of your own ambition. Are you willing to pay it? That forbidden sentence I mentioned. We're 60 seconds away. But first, you need to understand the two types of endings Roosevelt describes. Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. The best case, you win. The worst case, you fail with honor. Notice what's missing, the middle. There is no, I played it safe and it worked out. This is why average people hate this speech. It doesn't allow them to hide. You're either in the arena, or you're the critic Roosevelt already dismissed in line 1. Now, the sentence that changes everything. Roosevelt gave this speech after being president, after being a war hero, after nearly dying multiple times. He was 51 years old, richer than most, safer than anyone. He could have retired. Instead, he gave this speech in Paris, then immediately explored the Amazon, where he almost died. Again, at 55. That is arena mentality. He didn't speak from theory. He spoke from scars. And his final line, the one corporate trainers skip, here it is. So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Cold and timid, not stupid, not lazy, timid. Roosevelt's saying the greatest sin isn't failure. It's being too afraid to even try. Why do corporations hate this sentence? Because it destroys the modern everyone's a winner culture. It says if you're not risking real failure, your success doesn't count. HR departments can't put that on a poster. These people don't fail because they can't. They fail because they won't. They've already accepted the participation trophy of existence. At least I didn't embarrass myself. But Roosevelt sees through it. Those people will never know victory because they never risked defeat. And that's not wisdom. That's cowardice dressed up as maturity. And the world will clap for it. It will call it being realistic. It will call it being practical. It will call it waiting for the right time. But there is no right time. There is only the arena and the excuse. And excuses age faster than regret. Here's the part nobody tells you. The longer you stay in the stands, the harder it becomes to step down. Because comfort calcifies. It turns into identity. I'm just not that type of person. I'm not built for that. That's for other people. No. That's fear rehearsed so many times it sounds like truth. Roosevelt understood something most people never will. Courage is not a personality trait. It's a decision. A repeated decision. Made publicly. Made imperfectly. Made while your hands are shaking. The arena is not reserved for the talented. It's reserved for the willing. The willing to look foolish. The willing to be misunderstood. The willing to lose in front of everyone. Because here's the hidden reward of the arena. Win or lose, you become dangerous. Not dangerous to others. Dangerous to your own limitations. Once you survive embarrassment, it loses its power. Once you survive failure, it loses its threat. Once you survive criticism, it loses its sting. And that's when something shifts. You stop asking, what if I fail? And you start asking, what could I build? That shift is everything. Because timid souls optimize for safety. Arena souls optimize for growth. Timid souls ask for permission. Arena souls take responsibility. Timid souls wait for guarantees. Arena souls move with uncertainty. And yes, uncertainty is uncomfortable. It will cost you sleep. It will cost you approval. It might cost you relationships that only existed because you were small. Growth has a way of exposing fragile connections. But Roosevelt never promised comfort. He promised meaning. And meaning is heavier than comfort. It demands more. It requires more. But it gives more in return. Because at the end, when the noise fades and the crowd goes home, you have to live with yourself, not your followers, not your critics, yourself. And there is a difference between being tired and being empty. So here's your choice. Dust, sweat, and blood in the arena. Or cold, timid safety in the stands. Roosevelt's watching. Which side are you on? I made something for the people who choose the arena. It's called the Arena Self-Assessment. A free checklist that breaks down exactly where you're playing it safe and where you're actually in the fight. Links in the description. No email required. Just brutal honesty with yourself. If you felt something during this video, anger, conviction, maybe a little guilt, that's good. That means you're not dead inside. That means you still care about what you could become. Next video, I break down the 5 arena behaviors that separate people who try from people who win. It's the tactical playbook Roosevelt never wrote. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. See you in the arena.